welcome to the deep dive. Ever get that feeling that there's sometimes a huge gap between what people say they believe and how they actually live?
Oh, absolutely. It's something you see.
Yeah. So today we're really digging into that. We're exploring what it truly means to, live a belief, not just wear the label. We'll be looking at the surprising origin of a really common term and also some pretty challenging thoughts from Romans chapter 2.
Powerful stuff in Romans too.
Definitely. So our mission really is to try and unpack that difference between just claiming an identity and, authentically living it. Ready to dive in.
Let's do it. What's really fascinating, I think, is where that word Christian even came from.
Right. It wasn't self-assigned.
No, not at all. Our sources, like Acts 11, show that people in Antioch, they saw these followers of Jesus living in such a distinct way, so much like Christ, actually.
The outsiders noticed.
Exactly. They started calling them Christians. It wasn't a name they picked. It was given to them based on what people saw.
Okay, that's a huge point right there. An external label based on observed behavior.
Precisely. It highlights that their actions, their whole way of life, was so compelling, so consistent with Jesus' teachings, that people identified them by their leader.
So it wasn't about signing up for something or wearing a badge. It was about how they lived, day in, day out.
That's it. Observable behavior reflecting an internal change. It implies, a pretty high standard for authenticity, doesn't it?
It really does. More than just choosing a label for yourself. How did that contrast with, say, the existing religious markers of the time?
Well, it challenged the idea that your identity was just about maybe your family line or following a specific set of external rules. This kind of lived out faith became their most powerful statement.
That idea, an earned identity defined by how you live, that sets up a really stark contrast, doesn't it?
It does.
Because if a name is given based on your life, what happens when there's a disconnect?
And that's exactly where Paul goes in Romans chapter 2. He confronts that very issue.
Right. Starting around verse 17, he talks to people who were really proud of their religious identity.
Very proud. Identifying as Jewish, boasting in having the law, God's law, and having circumcision as that outward sign of the covenant. They took immense pride in these things.
Right.
But their actions, their actual behavior, often completely contradicted those claims.
Paul really doesn't pull any punches, does he?
Not at all. He basically asks, you teach others, but do you teach yourself? You preach against stealing, but do you steal? Very direct.
He points out they knew the law, they taught others, maybe even boasted in God, yet their actions were causing God's name to be, what's the word he uses? Blasphemed.
Yes, exactly. The name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles because of you. Meaning non-believers were looking at their behavior and thinking poorly of God because of it.
Wow, that's heavy. Linking their personal actions directly to how God himself was perceived.
It's a powerful indictment of hypocrisy. It just shatters the idea that the outward signs or just knowing the right things are enough on their own.
That disconnect, words versus deeds, it seems like a core issue here.
Definitely. The visible hypocrisy undermined everything they claimed to stand for.
But hang on. Is there a risk here, maybe for someone listening, of thinking any outward practice is pointless or potentially hypocritical? How do we balance that?
That's a really important clarification. Paul isn't dismissing the practices themselves. He's targeting the disconnect, the hypocrisy. It's about the heart behind the actions.
Okay.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture he's painting, Paul makes it clear. True belonging, true faith, isn't ultimately about those external things like physical circumcision or just possessing the written law.
It's deeper than that.
Much deeper. It's about an internal change, a transformation of the heart, as he puts it, by the Spirit, not by the letter.
So driven by an inner spiritual reality, not just following external rules.
Precisely.
Okay, so pulling all this together then. The origin of Christian as an observed identity, Paul's critique of hypocrisy. What's the takeaway for us today?
I think it's a powerful callback to integrity, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems like it. A reminder that, real faith means your life actually starts to reflect the name you claim, the beliefs you hold.
It's about ensuring our actions draw people towards our beliefs, hopefully towards God, rather than pushing them away because they see a contradiction.
Making sure our conduct honors what we say we believe, rather than, mocking it.
Which leads to a really challenging question for everyone listening, I think. You have to ask yourself, based on your own life, does my life make God's name honored or mocked? It's quite a stark choice when you put it like
It
that.
really is. It feels like an invitation, doesn't it, to move towards a deeper authenticity,
Yeah.
living in a way that truly lines up with what we say we believe inside.
Hmm.
So maybe here's a final thought for you to ponder this week, something to really chew on. How can you, in your own relationships and your daily actions, reflect what you believe authentically?
Making sure that outward life really does match the inward conviction.
Exactly. How do you make sure those two things are genuinely aligned? Something to think about.